Welcome to another video. In this video we will discuss how we can call a child flow from a parent flow. In Power Automate we have an option so that we can create a child flow and we can call that flow from a parent flow. So let us start the session. First we will tell you how to create a child flow first. Okay, so it's because I want to create a flow that will create as I want to create a child flow that will be used as a reusable flow so that it can be called from multiple parent flows. That's why my requirement is I want to create a child flow which will save a record or which will create an item in SharePoint, and that item can be created from multiple sources. It may be your Dynamics 365, it may be your Power Apps, or it may be Microsoft Forms, it may be Outlook, right? So first let us design that flow first. As I want to create an item in SharePoint, let me create a site in SharePoint first. I'll go to SharePoint and create a team site. Let me give here feedback portal. Okay, and I want to make this site as public and click next, and I don't want to add any owners right now, so just click on finish. Right now, once we click on finish, the site will create for me. The site is feedback portal. Here I want to create a list control or list inside this site. Click on blank list. I want to create a list to feedback storage, so feedback list you can specify, and this feedback list is represented as a list in SharePoint so that I can add some columns. First I want to store the title in title column, then I want to add another multi-line text or single line text to store the comment. Right now the comment is stored here in the comment box, and I want to add another column to store user. Right, the user column will store the person who given a feedback. Now this is my list that will be used in a flow. Right, so I will go to Power Apps, and here I will go to, first always understand, to use child flow and parent flow concept you have to create a solution first. So click new solution and give a solution name here. Let's say demo child flow. Okay, you can define the publisher. I want to define a publisher, let's say Subchi publisher, and this version I have given 1.0.0.0. now as soon as I created, the flow is created, the solution is created for me. Right, I can open this solution, and inside that solution I want to create a new flow. So click on new and choose cloud flow. As soon as you choose the cloud flow, it will open the flow designer screen for you, where you can create the triggers and actions that you want to perform, that the flow will perform. Right, so it is still loading the screen so that I can add triggers and actions. First I will design the child workflow, child flow or child Power Automate. Then I will call that child workflow or child Power Automate from a parent flow, and I will create 2 or 3 parent flow to call that same child flow to understand how it works. Okay, now this is my Power Automate screen. First let me give a name of the flow. Right, at the top left corner it is telling on title, give a name here. Let's say child flow, give a name as feedback child flow. Right, now in this child flow I want to first use a trigger called as HTTP trigger. Just search request, choose request, HTTP request, and the trigger is when an HTTP request is received. Right, Now in this HTTP request, it requires a JSON schema, because when the parent flow will call to the child flow, it should be receiving a JSON format, so that it will trigger by using that JSON, right? So click on this use sample payload and write down the JSON schema here. I want to pass first user. Let's say I'm just entering sample data. This is how JSON schema is created, right? First it will pass user, then it will pass title, and then it will pass comment. So this HTTP trigger will identify, so just use message and just properly, right? So this HTTP trigger request will identify whenever someone send a request, post a request using this JSON object, right? So once you build this, when you use run child flow step, it will ask you to provide these three informations. Now click done. Now the schema is generated for you, right? Now once the HTTP request received is done, what is my next step? My next step is to create an item in SharePoint. So search SharePoint and use create an item, right? When you choose create an item, you have to choose the site address. I have already created a site called as feedback portal. If it is not found, you just copy this up to this feedback portal. Sometimes it doesn't find out, so you can specify like this. Now if you click this, you are unable to find the address. Okay, so click on this and click on enter custom value. So it's not giving me. Okay, I will go to here. So I will use up to this one, feedback list. Just copy up to list. Let us see if it is working fine or not. Okay, if it is not finding out, what you will do, you will just refresh your SharePoint. SharePoint is refreshed. I can go here and save this for now. Let me just delete this step and save it first. Should contain one action. Okay, no problem, add an action. Just use a compose, just a sample compose step you can add, and you can just give test and save it. So my flow is initially saved. Now I want to add SharePoint. Sometimes it's because I have created this feedback portal in SharePoint just now, so it is not refreshed. So what I will do, I will just refresh the Power Automate by clicking this browser refresh button. Now it is already saved, so I can go to the solution again. I should see my solution here and click on this Power Automate and click on edit. Now I want to edit to add the SharePoint connector, so I will just delete this step. I have added just for demo purpose. Now can you see that once I have saved this, the URL is generated. Now I can go to second step, click on new step and search SharePoint, which I want to create a SharePoint item. So click on create item. This time I am expecting the list will display here. Okay, now it is not displaying, right? Let us check that. Sites and storage area, enter custom value, copy this. You can just copy this. Sorry, I'll go to top and copy this, and I'll go here and use again the custom value. Now if it is not identifying, Can you see that it is identifying, but it's still showing that we are unable to find the address, but it's okay. You can select now feedback list. Now save it. Once you save it, it will ask you to provide title, comment, user. So what title you want to assign? I have already received HTTP request, title, comment, user, right, using this JSON object. Now you just assign title by searching here title, right? This is from HTTP request received step. Then again search comment, then user. This is also passed from HTTP request. Now once this item is created in SharePoint, I want to return a status to the parent flow, right? Once this child flow is called, once it will create the item, I want to return some message to the parent flow. So click on new step, and I want to add a respond to Power Apps. Once you click on respond, you can see there is a step called as respond to a Power App or flow. Click on this, click on a message, or click on a input parameter. Now I want to provide status success, right? And also I will add another parallel branch here. I will use the same thing, respond to Power Apps, and this time the input parameter will be, the output parameter will be failure. Now why I am taking two steps, one is for success, another is failure, because for some reason if this create item in SharePoint is throwing error, then it should return failure. So how it can be configured? If you go to here in this second step and click on configure run after, you can understand. I want to execute this parallel branch whenever the create item is failed or skipped or has timed out, right? So if it is success, then it will return success to the parent flow. If for some reason, if this step is failed or skipped or timed out, it will return failure, right? So this is the steps that will be performed by my child flow, right? Now save it. Right now I will go and create a parent flow to call this child flow, right? So I will just close this, and I will go to solution again and create a new flow. I want to create a new cloud flow, right? So let's give a name, parent flow for Outlook, right? So I want to, my scenario is, as I have already created a child flow, now I want to send an email to my Outlook from an external email about a feedback, and that feedback will be captured in this parent workflow, parent Power Automate, and it will call the child Power Automate to create the items. Now for that I want to use connector. My connector is Outlook. I want to read the inbox emails, right, by using when a new email arrives. Click on this. Now when I will receive an email with a subject filter called as feedback, right? If the subject of the email contains feedback, then what I want to do, it will trigger the flow, parent flow, and it will call the child flow. Just search run child flow. You will see there is a step called as run a child flow. Click on this run a child flow. You can see here you can choose your child flow that you have already created. That was the child flow was feedback child flow, right? Now once you choose this feedback child flow, you can see these three options I have added in JSON object, right? So when you call this child flow, you have to pass this three information from your parent flow. So what is the data you want to pass? I want to pass user age from email, because I want to store the user as the person who emailed the feedback, right? So from is the person user from the user's email who emailed me as a feedback, right? And title, I want to define title as feedback from Outlook, right? And comment, I want to define the body. Sometimes the body is a HTML body, right? So sometimes it's because the email body is HTML body, so I have to convert this body to plain text. So use a action before that, convert HTML to text, right? So that in this way you can convert HTML to simple plain text. So what content you want to convert? I want to convert body, right? Now here I want to assign the plain text that is converted from the HTML format of the mail body, right? And in the title I want to define the subject of the email body. You can define the dynamic value, or you can give a static value. Now once it will take these three informations, now the child flow will trigger and it will create an item in SharePoint, right? Now test this. Now the next thing is, once the child flow is running and it is success, so it returns a success or failure, right? Now I can check a condition here. Now choose a condition control. Now if status is the output value of the child flow, right? So if status is equal to success, then I want to send an email. Let's say Outlook. I want to send email, so click on send email. To whom I want to send? I want to send to myself. Subject, new item created in SharePoint. And you can define the mail body as per your choice, right? And if it is no, if status is failed, then you can define another action here. Let's say I want to send a failure email. Send email to whom I want to send. I can define me, and subject is item creation failed, right? So this is just to notify that something is not correctly done. Now the status is the output parameter of the child workflow. We have passed 3 input parameters to the child flow and it returns this status. Now save it. And we will test now, right? Now I will open my Gmail and I will try to send an email to my official email, right? Let me click on compose, right? To whom I want to send? I want to send subject. This one is my email ID, subscription email ID trial version, and subject, let's say feedback, then Sanjay, for example. So what I want to send, let's say I want to send your company is very good, and stop it, right? Now I have just mentioned this information and I will just send it. What it will happen now, once it is done, if I will open my Outlook, I am expecting that email because that has already been sent from my Gmail to this organization email. So I'm expecting this, I'm expecting the email ID here, email message here in a short while. Can you see that this feedback is received, right? Now I'm expecting the flow will run. If I'll go back and check the run status, try to refresh, now it is running, now it is succeeded, right? Now if I'll go to SharePoint, I'm expecting a new item will be created here, right? Now refresh this, now this item is created. In the comment, the message, and in the body, in the title, the subject of the email, and from whom I received this email, from this user, right? Now let us call this same flow, same child flow from another trigger, right? Let's say I'm expecting people submit some feedback using Microsoft Forms, right? Let us create for that. So click on new, again new cloud flow, and before that let me create a form in Google. Okay, now create a new form. Now define a form. The title will be, let's say, feedback form, right? And first I will design the question, comment, and long answer text. I want to capture the comment in long answer text. Then I want to capture another question to capture title, short answer. That's it. Now I want to save this, right? Now I will just send this, I will copy this. Now what I have done, I have created a Microsoft form so that I can share this form to any external user to capture feedbacks, right? Someone can give comment and give title and click submit. Now once someone clicks submit, I want to call that child flow to create an item in SharePoint, right? This is now public, anyone can use this URL to send an feedback, right? So now I will go to here. Now I have created a form, so I will just close this. Now I will create a parent flow, submit form feedback to SharePoint, right? Now as because I want to read the response or the submission of a Microsoft form, so I will use Microsoft form as a connector. So use Microsoft Forms. Now the trigger is when a new response is submitted. So use this. It will try to log in the Microsoft Forms in implicitly. Then once it is logged in, then I can choose for which form submission I want to capture. The form ID is, if it is not found, enter the manual. The form ID is this one, feedback form, right? Now once this feedback form is received some response, I want to call the child flow, right? The child flow is run child flow. You can use run child flow to call the child flow. Run a child flow, select the flow that you want to call, feedback child flow. Now it will ask three things, right? I want to use user, I want to send the user information. So from where I will get this information? I will get the information from this response, right? So I will scroll down and use response ID. Can you see that I can only have response ID here? Now we have to read details by using the response ID before assigning these values. So click on another step, use Microsoft Forms again, and use an action get response details. To use get response details, you have to pass the form ID. The form ID is Again you have to give this custom one. If it is not identified, enter custom value, and the response ID is this one. From the dynamic content you can click on response ID. Now once the response is captured, we retrieved the details about the response. Now if I want to assign these fields, I can search here. I want to search, let's say, title. Now when I will click on this user, if I'll go down, you will see all the options are available in the get response details. Now I will click the corresponding fields to assign to these three fields. User, I will use responder email, and title, I will use the title, and comment, I will use comment. So these three informations are captured from the submission, right? Now click on, so I can use the condition also. If the status is success, then I want to use do something. So if I will search status, you can see this is coming from child workflow, right? If it is equal to success, then I want to do some action. So I want to send an email. So you would send email, and here I want to send to myself. Subject, new item created by forms, and like that. In failure, I will add and I will send another email. Send email, and I want to send to myself, and subject, new item creation by form failed, for example. Okay, now it is done. Now I will save it. Now let us test this. I will open the form, Microsoft form, and try to submit a response. I'm expecting that will be logged in the SharePoint. Let me open the SharePoint also in the meantime. So it is subchief. If you don't find, you can go here home page and open your SharePoint. So SharePoint is available here. I can open this, and once I will open this, I will go to my site. So what is the site? If I don't find the site, I can go here and search feedback. So this is the feedback portal, right? Now only one feedback is captured as because of email received, right? Now I want to submit the feedback from this Microsoft form. I want to give a title here, training feedback. I was happy about training, right? Now click on submit. Once you click on submit, the response will be submitted, right? Close this. Now I am expecting the item will be created here, right? Now I will go here in the flow to check if it is submitted successfully or not, or it is running successfully or not. Now it is succeeded, right? And I can also check if it is created that item or not. I can refresh this, right? This is training feedback. So it is anonymous because anonymously submitted the request. If you want to enable the login credentials to submit the feedback, then it will give you the user credentials, right? Because I have enabled the form to capture responses anonymously, right? That's why it is anonymous. So you understand how we can create a child flow. This is my child flow, and this child flow is called in these two parent flows, right? So normally the child flow is called for some reusable concepts, so that you do not need to create your flow again and again. Rather, you can call a reusable flow, so that you can call it as a child flow from another parent flow, right? I hope you understand. Practice yourself to understand more. Thank you guys. I will come with more videos in short while. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed. Thank you.